I'd like to talk a little bit about vocabulary learning, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a theory presented by, part of a theory presented by a man called Paul Nation. And the first idea that I want to try and to put across is the idea that there are perhaps 3 stages in learning a new vocabulary item. And the first stage is that we match a sound or even the writing version of a word to a concept, and at least some beginning of matching a sound with a concept occurs. So I'm going to introduce you to Namja. This is Namja, and looking at this, I presented you with a new object and a sound that goes together with that object. If you imagine that you're a young learner learning English, then the concept of what is in front of you and this word sound, the Namja, is actually can be a little bit confusing. You know, what is it that Namja means? Is it like a plastic toy? Well, this is a plastic toy. Is it the black suit? Is it the black glasses? Is it the bald head? Is it the necktie? Is it the white shirt? Is it the bouncer? Is it kind of some kind of James Bond thing? So the idea of this word Namja is mapped against this is the beginning of a mapping process. Actually quite a complex process. So if we bear this in mind, that when we present a new vocabulary item, that it may not be mapped straight away, and that over time a map can be built up of that object. And remember, mapping is that here is the name for something, a concept or an object. Other words can be more complicated about mapping, but I'm not talking about those at the moment. I'm talking about simple mapping. So if this is how something is mapped, and we're starting to create matching a concept to a sound, then later on, at that stage, we can't expect someone to be able to use that new object and that new sound in a productive way straight away. We should focus on them being able to see the object and say the sound, at least, or to think of the object and say the sound. But another stage, the next stage of learning an item, and I don't think that they're separated exactly, but they're interlinked, is that a kind of a threshold builds up, both in memory and in understanding of a concept as well. So to expect a student to learn a new word in the first class and be able to use it is not going to happen. So if we call this first stage receptive vocabulary, that means that we receive a new vocabulary sound and begin to map it to a new object. As time goes by, maybe in the same class, and maybe in your teaching material, if the word occurs again and again, the recycling of vocabulary items is very useful. That for a student, mapping takes place. And for my own learning of languages, also some space, space in terms of time, between first exposure to repeated exposure, and then some space, and then repeated exposure again, begins to help build this stronger map and a stronger understanding of what something is. And also, because Namja is not in isolation, Namja also goes together with other words. For example, 이 남자는 stut 이러고 있어요. So this word Namja actually comes into a sentence, but this production stage, if a student knows that Namja is a noun, then they maybe already have other vocabulary, and they know that nouns can go together in a certain part in the sentence. They may be able to show some usage of that new word very quickly. So yes, it's definitely important to perhaps explain that, you know, Nanja is an object as opposed to perhaps some other family of word. Anyway, back to my main points. First is that when a student first sees an object or a concept, is that they may not immediately be able to relate the sound to the specific concept that you're looking at, and also that the complete mapping of a meaning of a word does take time, and we have to recycle those words and also, you know, find ways to connect those words to the word that we're trying to teach, and this will help our students. Alright, thank you.